Awesome. Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Cheryl Abram, and you are listening to Life Without a Witness. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Every single time you all show up to hear me talk about this stuff, and I really do enjoy talking about it. So, my YouTube channel, which is Life Without a Witness, I'm starting to talk more there as well because something that I realized is when when I first discovered, that there was more going on here than I initially thought, and actually something different going on here than, than what I initially thought. I was Two things happened. I was terrified on one hand, and on the other hand, I was so relieved. I mean, the feeling of relief that Cheryl, you just you did, it's not right. Like you're not there. Like that's not what it is actually, you know. So I was very excited and happy that that was the case, but at the same time, I was like, okay, so what's the hell is going on then? Like, if it's not what I thought it was, where the heck am I? Okay. And what's actually happening. So ever since that day, uh at first I tried to ignore, like at first I tried to ignore it. It was because what I had experienced on one hand, that Cheryl, everything you think is not correct, like that it's not, what it is. It's not the whole picture. That certainty that I had that I was wrong, you know, was coming up against all the ways that I was right. I was right about the fact that I'm a woman, on earth, and I'm a mother, and I'm having all these problems, and I'm depressed, and I'm upset, and I can't stand this man that I'm with, and I'm right about all that. So how can I be right about all that? I got the feelings, I got witnesses to tell me all this is true. How can that be the case and not be the case at the same time? It was, I really struggled with that. I really struggled with that, trying to get to one or the other. Either this is right or that is right. Okay. It can't be both. Okay. Until I came to the realization that, what, it actually can be both and more. All right. Because it's, and that's when I came to see that, how we say, non-duality means not two. Well, not two doesn't necessarily mean one. Okay. Not two just means not two. It doesn't, that doesn't, always translate to just one. It could be more than that, right? An infinite number of things. So when I finally stopped trying to figure that out, trying to put this, square peg into the round hole, then I was able to breathe more, breathe more deeply, and then, quiet myself down and actually just begin to look, just look around and observe. And, keeping not even in the back of my mind anymore, more in the forefront that, we talk a lot about suffering, and suffering is all in the mind, and all that stuff. And seeing that, yeah, that's I see that now. Like, suffering is no longer an obligation for me. At first I thought I was obliged. I thought I was, it was an obligation for me to, feel this and believe that that was the way it was, and like I was obligated to do that. Okay. Now all that can still occur and happen and whatever, but there is no obligation there anymore, for me to do that. So I'm a lot quicker on my feet, I guess you can say, I actually read this. It was so funny. So periodically I go to Fire and God is on Amazon. That's my book. It's on Amazon and with, those other people who have the book. And I was reading one of the reviews where this lady was saying how it was a ticket to hell. Okay, she was like, "Don't read this book; it's terrible. You're gonna go. I mean, you're gonna go straight to hell if you do. Read this other lady's book instead. She loves the Lord and all that stuff. Which was okay. Which was fine. Okay, because people, my public speaking coach told me, Robert Rabin. You all, might know him. He did a boot at the gas pump and all that, but he was also my public speaking coach. And he told me, he said, Cheryl, nobody's ever going to read this book that you wrote. Nobody's ever going to read the book you wrote, okay? Because people have their own, filters and ways of interpreting things, and that's what they're going to read. They're going to read, these words through their own interpretations, And so when I read the various reviews, like that's what I see. And no review is, worse or better than another one. What I'm seeing is actually, the person who wrote it, who actually wrote the review. And which is great. I think that's really, I think that's good. And for me, like, I really feel like I have actually expanded or grown more into whatever my possibilities are, and I know that they're legion. Okay, there's like so many possibilities and things that I can do, and I see that like in my work, the work that I do now, and I'm enjoying work so much more. Like, I really am. I'm enjoying work more. I just did all the paperwork that was needed to do so that I could homeschool my boys. So they're 11 and 12. So I'm going to start homeschooling them. And y'all have no idea how excited I am to do homeschooling. It's ridiculous. I mean, I'm just percolating, okay, with lessons and just interesting. I'm going to be doing some things for the first time too. Like, one of the things we're going to do is write a screenplay, and because they watch a movie, they like Marvel and stuff like that. So we're actually going to write a screenplay as part of our reading and literature part of the thing. And I am just bubbling with excitement, I'm telling you. So I'm very, very, and I'm going to try to submit it too. We're going to try to submit it as well. But I'm very excited just about asking questions, and which is another thing that we're going to do, right? So typically, how you do in school or in training or whatever, to find out if you know what you say you get questions that you have to answer and get right or wrong, or discussion question, whatever the case. We're not going to have that, right? So we're going to start off with whatever the topic is that we're talking about. Let's say, so we're doing, what is it called? Pedology. It's the study of soil. Okay, that's going to be one of the things we do, study soil and where it comes from and what it is and all that. Well, they're going to ask questions about that topic to begin with, okay? And I don't expect them to know a lot to be able to ask a lot of questions, but by the time we get to the end, at the end of the school year, their questions should be a lot more evolved because they would have learned more. So that's how we're going to determine, and I'm going to do the same thing. That's how we're going to determine how much we've actually learned, by the types of questions we can ask about the topic versus answering questions, predetermined questions about the topic based on what I think you should know at this point. You know what I mean? So I'm excited about that too. So my work, I don't know, there's just so much to do with nothing to do. Remember the last time that we talked, how I talked about, really coming back to the idea and the feeling that I got, the day that I talk about in Fire and God, is that there's absolutely nothing to do. Like right now in this moment, there is nothing to do. Okay. Like nothing, and that was, I don't even know what to call it, the impression, I guess, that I didn't feel it. Like that's the impression that I was. If nothing can do was a person or a sense or something, like I was the sense of nothing to do. Okay, in addition to other stuff, right? Um, which now is like really weird because I'm doing stuff, you know, when there's nothing to do, which makes it takes away so much, like the urgency. It takes away the need for permission. I mean, it all of that stuff just falls away, so that, more and more it's just me interacting, you know, just me being in my environment, taking my place, just like the trees and the flowers and all that out there in the environment, okay, as part of nature. And one of the things that I talked about, because I grew up in the South, where we're super duper uber hoover religious, okay, down there, and um, and just so confined, in some kind of a. I was telling my sister the other day, like, I don't know how, like, I really don't know how I got here, okay? Because I was like in a trance. I was in a trance, when it came to Christianity and all the stuff I believed about even non-religious things, about what I was and who other people were, and, what water actually, I mean, just in a trance, okay? And and it's not like I woke up, like I wasn't asleep. I was just, like in a trance or something, and I told her, I was like, I really don't, I have no idea. Like, I have no idea how any of this happened, but I'm so grateful. And when I look at, people I grew up with, or just people, around me, every day, at first it was like, how do you not see this? you know Not even thinking, not even considering the fact that I ain't see nothing either, okay? But I'm like, how, like, it's like, how do you not see, like, it's so. But I know that the hardest thing for anybody to see is what's most obvious, right? The thing that's right smack in front of your face, that's the thing that's hardest to see, and I get that. So, and I also used to be like so angry at, how atheists are when they first come out of whatever religion they're coming out of, and now they're like, there is no God, and they're debating and arguing, and all this other stuff. Is there a God? Is there whatever? I was angry like that. Just what do you mean there's a God? Like, there's nobody out there, and all that. And now I'm to the point where I'm like, you know what? I don't know. I don't. It could be. Could be. I don't know. I'm not sure. And that's okay too. That's all right. And even not even just the Christian God, right? But that the other guy over there with the blue one, I think he has a bunch of arms or something. Like, we have a whole bunch of stuff going on here. Okay. And who's to say they're not all somewhere doing something, or whatever. And which is fine. Like, I don't, there's still nothing to do. Whether there's somebody out, whatever, there's still nothing to do. Okay. So, why would I get all, like, why would I care even? Okay. So I remember this time when I was going to work. It was raining outside and I was on the bus. So I live, in the DC area. And whenever I can avoid driving into DC, I avoid driving into DC. Okay. Just to keep my own sanity. So I'm on the bus, going to work. And I'm looking out the window with the, the rain's coming, raindrops coming down the windshield. And I'm looking, and all of a sudden it's like, how do I explain this? I'm looking out the window, and then it's almost like I retrieved myself. It's almost like I am infused in everything. Like that's the way, but I didn't know that until I pulled everything back, you know? So now this is the impression that and the feeling that I'm getting, right? So it's like when I pulled everything back, and when I say it's like I pulled myself out of everything I was looking at. That includes the road, the concrete, the cars. There was a flag nearby. There were some trees. Like just pulled myself out of all of that. All the care. I didn't even know I cared for concrete, but every feeling or whatever just was just gone. Like the stuff was still there. I wasn't levitating or anything, like that or anything, but I didn't care. Like I didn't care about it. Okay. So, which was strange. So I'm sitting there in the seat, feeling nothing, like not caring about anything, and which wasn't a negative or positive thing. It was just like a state of, or something, and then like after a while, I don't know, flowed back in everything, I guess. I'm sure I'm not speaking the right words about this, but that's that. And then I cared again. Okay. It was really weird. but it reminded me of a book that I read this book. Like after that happened, I read a book by this lady. What is the name of that book? I forget. But she was talking about her that experience people have when they die and they come back. What do you call that? Whatever that thing is. Not out of body. It was something else. And so I'm reading that book, and she said in her book how she was lying on the gurney, and she was looking down at herself. She was looking down at herself, but she saw that she was no longer alive, but she didn't feel anything about that. Like it wasn't bad, it wasn't good. Like it was just, she was just looking at something right there, and I was like, that's it. I was like, that's totally what, happened when I was on the bus that day, seeing that, whatever that was. There it is, near-death experience. Thank you so much, Eric. That's what it's called. Near-death. I couldn't think of that for anything. That's what it was. So, but I forget the name of her book though. But she was like, talking to everybody and about it and all. And I know that many people talk about that, but hers is the only one, that I actually read. People have been on talk shows and stuff like that. But yeah, but it was very, very interesting, like that. And which, and I feel like now that happened like all at once. Okay. And then I was back to normal, I guess you could say. But since then, I almost have to, like, I don't know. My sister was telling me the other day, she was like, so Cheryl, when was the last time you talked to your son? My son is 23, I think. I think he's 23 or 24, one of those. Now, you see, that's what I'm talking about. Like, my care for stuff is not like it used to be. And I think it's the obligation part. You know how I'm not obligated, how I said before, I'm not obligated to suffer. I'm not obligated to do anything, like even care. But to not care doesn't mean that I need a different word than care. It doesn't mean that I don't care. It just, I don't know, it's like I'm not, I don't know, maybe attached to it, I guess. Maybe attached is a better word for that. I don't know. Until I need to be, like until, it's not like I'm just hooking myself onto you because I feel like that's what I need to do. Like I can unhook And when I feel like, you need me for something, or I need to do that, then I'll hook up again. And then, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like this. I'm not almost obligated to be a mom. Do you know what I'm saying? That might sound really terrible, but I don't know, like that's really the way it's feeling, which worried me a little bit in the beginning, and just because of like shouldn't I always be this way? Or as a mom, I'm supposed to, like, the supposed to stuff, reared its ugly head. Like, or I should be doing all this, but all that should and supposed to and all that, like that's going off by the wayside as well, which was a little worrisome, in the beginning. But now I'm like, Cheryl, like, go ahead, like we're good. We're good now. So I've been writing these. Y'all know I love to write. Okay. If you don't, I love to write. And so I wrote this quote. I was thinking about this thing about fear, because a friend of mine, a former colleague, had been, she contacted me to do some stuff and for her, and we were talking about fear. And so I thought of this thing, because I've always wondered, well, not always, but for a long time, when I had that experience at work, when I felt like I was dying, it wasn't a near death though, Eric. It was just like, I thought I was having a heart attack or something. I'm like, what the hell, and, I just saw that I was dying. Okay. So, and I was like, well, what was that? Like, why was, because nothing was there. Nothing was there. Nothing was happening. A lion didn't come walking in the room, like nothing. Okay. And all of a sudden I'm shaking, palms sweating, heart is just, so what else would I think other than a heart attack? Because there was no other reason for anything for me to be feeling like I was dying, there was no threat anywhere. So, and I've wondered that for years, since this happened back in like 2013, which is when it happened, somewhere around there. And what I realized was because when she and I were talking about fear, I was thinking, you know what? That really wasn't fear that was making my heart beat because I saw death that was coming, or whatever I consider death or something. What that was, like, anticipation, is really what it was. And when I did finally, like, fear wasn't even fear. So the quote, let me tell you the quote I wrote, okay? I said, when you really experience fear, you'll see that there's nothing to be afraid of. When you really experience fear, you'll see that there's nothing to be afraid of. Because, like, that's I've been wondering about that for so long, and I'm like, that I've never even experienced fear. All I've experienced is anticipation of fear, fear being, I don't know what the hell is on the other side of this thing, or I don't know what's going to happen, or I don't know what's somewhere in there is, basically uncertainty, like, because I know this, because I know I'm Cheryl, I'm on earth, I got 2 legs, I got 2 eyes, I can see, I'm talking, I know English, all that, because I know this, but I don't know that. Okay. So now, the closer I get to that, I'm anticipating that uncertainty, which I'm translating as fear, but it's really not. Okay. I don't think I've ever experienced fear. Now that when I think about it like that, never. All I've experienced is anticipation. And then, I saw the thing, or I was there, So it was like, okay, anticipation. And then boom, like, okay, like, where am I? What is this? What's a computer doing here? That kind of thing. And, and all that, the story that I tell in the book. And that's still the case, which is so fascinating to me, right? That the question I asked that day, what is a computer doing in eternity? Was a question I asked. What the hell is a computer doing here? That question is still relevant. What, how did a computer get here? How did this happen? And when I was frying eggs, like one day I was frying some eggs and I'm looking at the eggs like, oh my goodness. Like what is that? It was just, it was just very, very fascinating. But, when all the knowing and all this stuff comes in, it kind of dulls it, it dulls it a little bit. But I really do appreciate now, having a community like this, but also one of the things that I was really, really wanting to do was to share some kind of way to share what I'm sharing with you, with people like me, okay? Which is what I talked about on my channel last week and or this past weekend, because we are so, oh my goodness. So the religion is just all over the place, from where I am, growing up. Like that's really all we know, for the various reasons that's all we know, and when I say all we know, I mean like it's infused in everything. I mean every single thing. And another thing I wondered was, well, I'm sure like people all over the world, well, not I'm sure, like I know people all over the world, they have different ways that they express, spirituality or whatever, different gods and all that stuff. And I was, so why doesn't that, like if I hear somebody talking about, I don't even know who the other gods are. Like, is there a god in Islam? It's the same one, isn't it? Or like, I don't know, let's say Zeus or something, I don't know. Like that doesn't bother me. Like it's like, okay, if that's what it is for you, like that's fine. And then I was looking at the flat earth thing. There's actually a guy I work with who believes in flat earth. I was fascinated. I mean, fascinated. I was fast. He was like a celebrity. I was like, oh my goodness, I've never met anyone that I know of who believes in a flat earth still. I mean, it's fascinating to me, because of that Netflix documentary, Behind the Curve, that they have out there. And when you listen to flat earthers, people who believe that there's a flat earth, if you didn't know that they were flat earthers and you just listen to why they say they're with this group, some of the reasons are like, because I felt alone. I didn't feel like I belonged. I never could find my place in this world. I mean, the meaning that the belief in a flat earth has for these people is so, I mean, I was enthralled. I really was. They could have been talking about, something that, much more divine, I guess, than the shape of the earth. Okay. But it was just so fascinating. Like it really, really was. And to hear that, me as I guess I would be a round earther, believing that the earth is round or oval or whatever the hell of the shape they said the model is, I'm actually evil, in some of their eyes, according to what they said in the documentary. It's actually a fight against good and evil, those who believe in the flat earth versus around. I mean, I was absolutely fascinated. Absolutely fascinated. I was so fascinated that I went to Facebook and I joined the Flat Earth group on Facebook. I'm like, I gotta see what these people talking about. I really do. Because it's just fast. And I'm not, listen, I'm not, wherever they get in where you fit in, okay, is what we say. If that's what you want to do, then, I'm good. Because I feel like, and I told my boyfriend this, right? I'm like, we may say that they're draconian and, we believe that 500 years ago or whatever. But I was like, I hope you don't think that the round earth is going to be the last model that we have, right? Because that's going to change. Okay. I was like, scientists will even tell you, don't nobody know absolute truth. Okay. All we have is models. That's it. Right. And just like George Box, the statistician, he would say, all models are wrong. This is a statistician. Okay. He said, all models are wrong. I don't care what it is. So the question isn't whether it's right or wrong. The question is it useful? If the flat earth is useful, or the donut, because that's another one I found out about. There's also a model of the earth as a donut with a big hole in the middle, okay? And it like moves around like, or whatever. I don't know. But I mean, they're all just fascinating. Even the round one, fascinating, okay? Like it really is. And I think like that is okay. Even with all the various religions, okay, like that's perfectly fine, because where one of the things I talked about this past weekend in my video was the thing that really kept me grounded where I was the idea and feeling that I was right, okay? The idea and feeling that I was right. I could justify anything if I'm right, okay? So it was challenging to see that I'm not right, nor am I wrong. Like I'm not, and none of these things are right or are wrong, okay? It felt a little precarious, at first. I gotta put my foot down somewhere. Like, what's that thing they say? If you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for anything, something like that they said. Well, I'm just gonna fall for everything or whatever the case, because it's like I'm okay. And it's taken me years, like, to actually, feel like I'm okay with this. All right. And to actually not, when I hear a preacher preaching or, or something, to not get in my feelings, it feel angry. Like, why are you telling these people that? That's ridiculous. That's not true. And, it's taken me years, to be able to even hear that, to hear people talking about how things are, and they're this way and no other way, and they can't be any other way, and and just be fine, be like, okay, if hey, all right. Even when it comes to this non-duality stuff, okay, we don't know what the hell we talking about either. All right. So even this stuff right here, all is one, that is not two, or whatever, that ain't right or wrong either. Okay, either. It is no different than Christianity or Islam or whatever it is no different. It's the same thing. Like, it's not more, what is it? More true than this other thing. No, there's still nothing to do. Even that. Okay. It's not more true. It's like, is it useful? Is non-duality useful? Is Christianity useful? Is believing in motherhood or parenthood, is that useful? Believing that I'm a Black woman, is that useful? And I can see, because I was talking to my sister too, one of the things I told her was that, because she was asking me, why do people, we were talking about religion in particular, why do people believe this stuff? And one of the things that I found out, and that I wrote about in Firing God, is that all, like this, it was a meal ticket, right? And I had to start looking at, and that's what belief, at least from what I've seen, like belief is like a meal ticket. It's like a ticket to somewhere. You're trying to get somewhere, but you need a ticket. Okay. You need some way to get there. Okay. And belief is like that thing. Belief is that bridge from where I am now to where I want to be. Okay. So in order for me to, get eternal life and a mansion in heaven and all this other stuff, I had to believe a certain thing in order for me to get there. But the thing I didn't count on was that where heaven is on the other side of this ticket, on the back of the ticket, I had to be, unworthy and nothing and in need of prayer and in need of help and a sinner and, and all that stuff, right? Otherwise, I don't need the belief. Okay, so I had to, that story had to be right. Okay, which then led me to say, okay, now what other beliefs do I have? Like, what else do I believe? Okay, man, you can write volumes. Okay, and so where I started was with my roles. So I have different roles, like as a mother, as a daughter, as a girlfriend, as a consumer, as a taxpayer, as an American, as a tall person, as a healthy person, all that. Okay, all of that, So where is that belief taking me? Where are all those roles and the beliefs that go with them? Where am I trying to get to? You know, uh, that's a lot of that's a lot of unraveling. Okay, as a non-dualist, as an author, like where is this going to get me? Okay, where am I trying to get to? And doing that exercise, and not even getting through all the thousands of roles and tickets that I have, trying to get from here to there. It was, it's like, okay, I finally came to see, all right, I know, I see what I'm doing here. Okay, I see how I'm creating this narrative. Okay, I see how I'm doing that. And more importantly, because I'm creating it, I can uncreate it. Okay, is that a word? Uncreate it? Because I'm making this stuff up. Okay, I can change that whole story. Okay, and the feelings and emotions and all that come with it, that come along with that whole thing. Okay, now the feelings and emotions, that's the stuff that got me. Okay, because that's like, when you're making a dish and you don't put anything in it, and then you put a little bit of salt on it, and then the flavor comes out. That's like what feelings and emotions are like, that add that flavor to every single moment, right? So there's a book written by Pavel Somov, Somov. Pavel is his first name. He has an amazing website too, by the way. But he wrote a book called I think it's called Mindful Emotional Eating, right? Where he talks about how, because some people, I guess the narrative is, if you want to eat more, eat healthier meals or to lose weight or whatever, then you have to stop your emotional eating. Well, he said in there, there's no way you can do that. Like every time you put something in your mouth, like there's emotion. Like every instance of you eating is an emotional instance. So there's no way you can do that. You just have to be mindful of, okay, so what emotion is here at the time that I'm doing this, And another thing is that before, I spent a lot of time looking at other people, trying to see, well, how can y'all do better? Like, how can you be better? This is what you need to do to be better at this, or this is what you need to do to improve over here, or this, we get all, you go to training, get degrees and all this other stuff about how we could tell other people, this is how you do it. I haven't had time for that. I got so much Cheryl work going on here. Even in my training, okay, even in my training, so I design training curricula, right? So, and I tell people up front, listen, whether or not you learn, first of all, I don't care. And second of all, it's none of my business, okay? Whatever you learn, that's your business. If you're changing your behaviors, that's your business. All that is your business, okay? So what I do, and what I tell them that I do is, which is foreign to a lot of them, foreign. So they look at my content and they're like, I don't understand. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. Because all I do is just like I'm doing with you all right now, I share perspective and experience, which is how I define learning and teaching. I define learning and teaching the same way, sharing perspective and experience, okay? And empathy. Empathy is defined the same way, right? So that's what I do. Like in the work that I do, that's what I do. I share. And that's it. Okay. So I create my content like that. Okay. And in there, I'll make sure individuals have opportunity to, reflect and ask questions and do activities, and all this. But at the end of the day, I don't know who you are. Like, that's not for me to know that, it's just for me to know me. Okay. So even in the work that I do, I now say, and I need to finally create my website, okay, because I've been so lazy in doing that. But I now say that, learning is your responsibility. It's not mine. Okay. All I'm doing is sharing what I have, with you, freely with you, sharing freely with you. And that's it. It's not complicated. We don't need to do calculations and return on investment and all that. No, we don't do any of that. Okay. I'm doing it in a way that's Cheryl. Okay. I'm not trying to copy anybody or these are the best practices over here, or whatever. In whatever way, feels right at the moment, like that, that's exactly what I'm doing. So and there's no way that I could not bring this into my work. Okay. There's just no way. Which I thought was something you could do. Because at the beginning I was like, hey, all this spiritual stuff that's going on right now, I'm gonna have to wait on that. Okay. Because I have a family, I have bills that I have to pay. At the time I was going through a divorce, I had my house issues, and, so who has time to be thinking about, God and oneness and two-ness and meditation? Who got time for that shit? I got other things to do, important stuff. All of that other stuff, that's what rich people do. When they go on their retreats and they just got time, they ain't got to worry about bills and the IRS, and I don't have time for that. Okay. I don't. Which is what I said. I actually said this in the beginning. I was like, I don't know what this is, but I ain't got the time right now. Give me 6 months, okay, to take care of life. Then I'll come back to all this spiritual whatever the hell is going on here. But, that wasn't happening, because there was no way. There was no way. Because it was there. Like, now it was there. Now it was just there. Okay. I couldn't put it, there was nothing to put aside. Okay. It's not like I could just pick it up and say, okay, and put in my schedule spiritual work from 8 p.m. to 10. No. Like, that's totally not how it happened at all. Right. And from that, like, it's never happened like that. Right. It's always, been here. So now, so then there I was, right? I'm already, going through hell. All right. Now I got this other thing that's going on. Okay. That I had to deal with. Like, there was nowhere to go. And I had to deal with it, like, while my house was burning down. okay, while I was in the courtroom, while I was, driving in the car, while I was grocery shopping. I mean, I would have gave my left arm to go sit on a mountain somewhere for 40 days and 40 nights and just contemplate or whatever. But no, I had to do that stuff, while I was wiping my boy's butt on the toilet and all. It was crazy. It was nuts. It was nuts. Like it really, it really was. It really was. But yeah, it was a lot of work, y'all. Like really. And the depression and the feeling of loss. Oh my God. Can you imagine having knowing I got eternal life in the bag? In the bag. I've been guaranteed that when I die, I'm gonna live forever. Okay? Guaranteed that's I'm gonna have a mansion and milk and cookies and honey and all this stuff. Okay? All of it, guaranteed. And one day it was just gone. Can you imagine the loss? What I never had, a whole idea, was gone. And I felt like I had lost everything. And I really had nothing but a belief in it. You know, that's how powerful belief is. I really felt like something I had lost. I mean, you'd have thought it was like these people with millions in the stock market and they just lost it all in one day. I would have jumped out of a window if I had one to jump out of. Okay. If I wasn't scared of heights, you know, it was terrible. It was awful. But, so all of that loss and all of that stuff, was just going on. And then there was no support, because going to my family, hearing, oh, it's the devil and you just got to pray. And oh, I'm like, girl, that is totally not what's going on here. Totally not what's going on. But it was hard work, y'all. Like it really was. And at the time, right, I told y'all, like, I couldn't stand, so I was going through a divorce, right? And I hated my husband with every molecule in my being, in my soul, like everything. Okay, every cell, my foot cells, my hair follicles, everything hated this man. Okay, so now I got that thrown on top of all of this, right? It was a mess. It was a mess. Oh my goodness. And just the feeling of loneliness, like nobody hears me or understands me. And now there's no God that's looking at me. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. But, the hard work, and I'm still doing the work, I'm still doing the work. But I see it's almost like I had done the work to get there. I did the work to get there to where I was, Now I'm just doing the work to back up and unravel and all that. It's all that work, but in reverse, okay? Because it was just as hard to get there. It was. All the stuff you have to ignore and all this. And that's another thing I realized too, that I became an expert at ignoring, ignoring what was going on, ignoring the obvious, and piling another story on top of it. And but I had to keep doing that for a while because it's scary, which is what I talked about too, in my video this past weekend. Is I had my God and beliefs and my roles as mom and daughter and Christian, all that stuff was like a buffer, between me and life. Okay. It was a buffer, and my decisions, all of those identities that I just listed, mom, woman, all that stuff, my identities were making the decisions for me. Okay. Liberal, Republican, Patriots fan, soccer fan, all of those identities were deciding for me, so I didn't have to do anything. Okay. Cheryl like didn't have to do anything. The mom identity would decide the mom stuff, the daughter stuff, and the religious identity would decide the religious thing, and back here in the background, while I'm letting all my identities and beliefs and all that live for me, I'm miserable. Okay. But I'm doing what each one I'm told is supposed to do. Do you know what I mean? And if I slip up and do something that a good mom isn't supposed to do, or a good Christian isn't supposed to do, now it's on me. Now I'm at the end of the day, I'm always accountable, right? The Cheryl that's behind all these identities. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, you know what? Let me just do it. Y'all back up. Okay. Let me just, if I'm going to be accountable, let me just be accountable. Okay. From the jump, from the start. All right. Let's just do it that way. Which has been fine, yeah. So I'm really excited about where I want to go with this channel. Not this channel, but my Life Without a Witness YouTube channel. And because I've been very quiet, like I started off like, oh man, people are going to want to hear that we don't have to suffer like this, and my mom's going to love to hear that, we can make another choice, and that without fear of going to hell, like, and of course, nobody wants to hear that. It's like me standing up in the movie theater yelling, hey, those characters aren't real. They're like, Cheryl, sit down and shut up. Okay. You're ruining it for everybody. Okay. So I see, that's not going to work. However, there are some people, and when I did a couple of my book signings, some people really are like wondering, but are scared to say it, just like I was, are afraid to actually voice it, that they do have some doubts. Because doubting, at least the way, we're taught, doubting is not good. Like that really means, something's wrong, and you need to be stronger in this area, because you shouldn't be doubting what's true. You shouldn't be doubting what's right. Okay. When in reality, doubts are the things, and whatever it is, whatever you're right about, doesn't matter. When you add some doubt in there, okay, that's the thing that can really brighten stuff up for you, and give you a little bit more wiggle room, and some, more clarity around those things. So before, like being afraid of doubting and questioning, like authentic questioning, not looking for an answer. It's possible to ask a question without expecting or needing or looking for an answer. Just ask the question. That's it. Just ask the question. Okay. Whatever it is, right? And just leave it alone, which is another thing that I found too. Like, I don't have to go searching for anything. I really don't. I can question something and just leave it. Okay. There's no obligation to answer. to answer. And I don't feel that's what a question is not for answers anyway. But yeah, so doubting is healthy, doubt, I feel like doubting is a very healthy thing, and doing more of that is okay. And one of the things that I tell people, through my videos, and that I talk to, religious folks, is that, first of all, when I talk to people, I'm not there to change beliefs. You know, as a matter of fact, I tell them, please, like, believe the same thing you did when you came in here. Okay, when you came in here to hear this talk. I'm going to Chicago in September to do a talk like this to Black non-believers. Actually, it's called the Women of Color and Non-Belief, something like that. Oh, Beyond Belief, that's what it's called. And I'm going to tell them the same as I tell everybody else. You know, I invite you to, you know, keep the same beliefs that you had when you came in here. However, what I'm going to ask you to consider is to believe, you know, another thing, like add one more belief to that, okay? And that's the belief in doubt. Believe that belief is not necessary, all right? Add, can you, you know, if you can just add that to everything you already have there, you know, I invite you to do that. Just believe, you know, that belief is not necessary, which for me is what it all boils down to, you know, all those identities and, you know, trying to be this, that, and those, and this thing, and all that. It's okay. There's nothing right or wrong with it. It's just not necessary. Like, I'm not obligated to, you know, to build that thing up in order to be here, to be alive, to be Cheryl, to be whatever, okay? That's already done, and belief isn't necessary for that, okay? Go ahead and keep God, keep Allah and Krishna and whomever else there is. That's fine, but, you know, belief is not necessary for that. All right, I think we have 2 minutes left. Does anybody have, Hitesh, thank you for being here. Eric, thank you. So glad you two are here, and whoever else may be on another social media platform. I, again, appreciate you all being here to listen to me. And if you want to hear more from me, I'm on YouTube, Life Without a Witness. And, you know, you can subscribe there and you can hear me there after today. Thank you, Hitesh. Thank you, Eric. I really do appreciate it. Y'all take care and have great, great weeks. And thank you, Nothing Media. I don't know what your name is. Thank you for doing this, though. I appreciate it. Hey, baby. Good morning. Okay, no questions?
Are you taking questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. So you're describing this process where there is the identifications acting as sort of a buffer between you and reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when that buffer of identifications is no longer there, then there's just movement, and um, there's no self to have free will, and there's no self to not have free will. So my question is, do I have any agency in my process or in the way that I live my life, or is it just a life happening?
Oh, I don't know. Do you have any agency? I don't know. I don't know. For me, it feels like in some instances I do. And, you know, in some instances I don't care to. You know, so in some ways, when I feel like, okay, I have to, you know, have some control here or something, then, you know, I feel like, you know, that's what I have. Like, I do have the ability to, you know, cause something to happen or whatever. And in other instances, when I feel like, kind of like what I said before about the not caring, you know, it's like I can build it up when I want it and then tear it down, you know, when I don't want it. But either way it's fine, because at the end of the day, there's still nothing to do, So it's like, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah, that's the conclusion I've been coming to as well. It doesn't matter. But I notice that there's this part of me that doesn't accept what's happening and wants to change my state so that I have more positive emotions. And so there's nothing to do, but I find that I'm still waiting for that part of myself to fall away.
Okay, and that's okay too. Yeah, that's fine. It is. And I think that one of the important things for me to realize was it's okay. Like whatever is going on, because that was the overall impression that I got, is that Cheryl, you were not, all of these things that you were right about. Like, you knew what your role was here, you knew who God was, like you knew all that, okay, with no question. It was just a period at the end of the sentence, no idea that these things could ever be questioned, okay? It was like a very gentle reminder that those things are not true or false, but it's okay, wherever you are, and I've had to get used to that, because I kind of wanted to be either one place or the other, like, or wanted to say, okay, this is good and this is bad, or this is better, than being over here or whatever, So to really get into the place to where, whatever is going on is all right. And if I want to change it, okay. If I want to leave it the same, okay. If I want to feel like I can't change it, all right. It's like, whatever, like whatever there is. And in doing that and all that back and forth and uncertainty and yes, and oh, I remember this, all that, some kind of way, I'm feeling more, I don't know if real is the word, but genuine, I guess. Like I'm not being obligated, or I'm not following rules in order to be a certain person.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you very much for your talk and for fielding my question. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here, Eric. I appreciate you too.
Absolutely.
All right, so it's 1:04. I think that's it. So thank you all again for being here, and I'm sure I'll see you all later somewhere. Okay? All right. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.